Welcome to Trotta Talks. I got that wrong, my own name. How's about that? Listen, I really appreciate you coming along. I really appreciate you watching this. We're going to do a few minutes on red light cameras, but I really want to concentrate on getting the vote out. Let's talk about red light cameras for a minute. You know, at 46 of the 100 locations, there were actually increase in accidents. At 16 of those 46, they increased over 100%. So I can tell you that it's fundamentally wrong and irresponsible to call it a safety program. You would think that they would shut the program down, at least at those locations, but they didn't. What we further found out was they were putting these cameras in at locations where there really weren't any accidents. There was no problems, or one or two accidents, but they were money makers. You know, the questions surrounding red light, there's so many questions surrounding the red light camera program. I mean, engineering firms, I've learned this, is that the engineering field requires, and New York State law requires, that an engineer certify every traffic signal and every traffic control device. So we foiled all of the traffic control engineering plans for the red light cameras. Not a single one had a stamp. Now, is that because the engineers didn't want to stamp them? Because if accidents increased, they would be held responsible? In my opinion, yes, I think that was. Then they started to use the argument, well, it's really not a traffic control device. Well, they call it a traffic control device because it's supposed to control traffic, the red light cameras. So what we did further is we foiled the red light camera locations themselves for the installation of the cameras. And guess what? They weren't even satisfied. So we now have the government committing, I guess it's a crime, because they didn't do it, or a policy that they did not follow. So we're having uncertified engineered drawings for not only for the cameras, but for the lights themselves. So what happens then? We have, let's just use one intersection in particular that is extremely troubling. Miller Place Road and Route 25A. I happened when I was a young cop, that was actually my sector for a short time. Once they put the cameras up, total reported accidents, went up 159%. Right angle accidents, which this is supposed to prevent, went up 13%. Rear end accidents went up 580%. And my favorite, or unfavorite, is accidents involving injuries went up 145%. Now you tell me, wouldn't you have to just take the camera down immediately? The liability on the county has got to be incredible. But guess what? They left it up. I have one in Comac Road. It's pulling into a meat farm. It's actually pulling into a shopping center. There was there was no accidents there prior to putting the camera up, and I think they went up to like 25 or something in a year or two. So why are they doing that? It's about revenue. Absolutely, positively about revenue. Now, another thing that people need to realize is there are some people who really believe that these things are for safety. Well, if a car runs through a red light and it's a dangerous situation and there's a camera there, absolutely, positively, there's not a person on this planet who would say you shouldn't get a ticket. But the reality is 95% of those tickets given are right on red. You just pull up, you look, you just don't stop all the way, and you go. Bang, $80. Now, I want you to think about this. If you were driving on the Long Island Expressway and you were doing 56 miles an hour and a ticket came out of your dashboard, boom, for speeding. In my mind, that's the exact same thing. So let's go back to the basic principle. It's about money, no doubt about it. And we can say that because that red light cameras surcharge was added for $30. Now, there was a surcharge put on. Now, if it was about safety and not money, why would you put a surcharge on? Because that's just extra money that's going in, by the way, we'll talk about this in a minute, directly to the police district. So how could that possibly happen? Guess what? It's about money. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lead you through a variety of different things. So every argument they use, it's going to be the counter argument. Now, everyone says, we're all for it. Funny thing, they came in, the Traffic Violations Bureau, and they showed us these accidents where a guy ran a red light and hit somebody, or just went right through a red light. And I probably watched 10 or 15 of these, and I finally raised my hand and I said, well, this is glaring evidence that the system doesn't work. Because even if there's a camera there, someone's going to go run through it. It doesn't make a difference if you're texting, if you're drunk, if you're not paying attention, the camera's not going to work. And those are the most dangerous situations. So I have a pie chart that I'll try to post one day online, and it tells you this very little sliver of people where this actually makes something to do it. Now let's talk about something else. The way they report the data. In 2012, they added 50 cameras. So there was 50 and they added an additional 50. So prior to 2012, at the 50 camera locations that didn't have a camera, there were 3 fatalities in the year prior. After they put the camera up, there were 6 fatalities. Now, I'm not saying that those cameras caused the fatalities. But clearly, if it was the other way around, if it went from 6 to 3, they'd be screaming up, oh, look, we saved 3 lives. Ridiculous. Now, after they had that, guess what? They no longer included pedestrians, fatal accidents, or bicyclists. They took them out of the report. So what are we supposed to think? The law is very clear, actually. It's called falsely reporting an incident. If those cameras, if those accidents were not reported, which we're looking into now, whoever filed that report is guilty of offering a false instrument in the first degree. So we'll be checking into that, believe me. There's a lot of other things that I want to speak about. The surcharge on the camera we covered. When you're going through it, a light, my daughter's sitting on the other side here filming this. I'm going to give you an example of what happened to her. Now, they said that accidents decreased. The accidents decreased by 3%, which I think was 37 accidents, if I'm not mistaken. So she's coming up to a light. She sees it turn yellow. She slams on the brakes and stops. And bang, she gets rear-ended. Guess what? There was no camera there. So now there's an accident that she perceived there was a camera there, and bang, she got rear-ended. Now, they're not counting that. Now, if it happened to my daughter, I'm certain it happened 37 times around the county. All right, so, there are many more things. The cameras are there to elicit a response from people. So as you're either driving, you're slowing down, you don't know what to do. At that intersection at Miller Place Road, Route 25A, unfortunately, there were 2 fatalities at that location. Now, am I saying that they caused that? I don't know. And probably you'll never know. Because you can't tell me that when you're entering an intersection and you're looking at that light and you know there's a camera there, you don't behave differently. Certainly you're looking up. How do you know what you're not seeing? When they taught me in the police academy, when you're handling a car accident, the first thing they taught you was to get the cars off the road. Because you don't want anything that's going to distract the driver. So because invariably, if you're sitting there doing one accident, bang, someone sees the police, steps on the brakes, and there's another accident. So they get you off the road. So using that philosophy, the cameras are there permanently. So it's an obstruction for the people who are approaching that intersection. They get $32 million from that. Now, let's see where that money goes. The money goes directly into the police district to pay salaries. You would think that the police unions would be all over this. Oh, we can't have, we don't have, we should have cops writing tickets, not cameras writing tickets. They don't say a word about it. Not a single word, because it helps pay their salaries. I'm sure they would like more cameras. Now, I'm going to switch gears now. I'm going to take some questions about this in a minute. But I want to talk about the upcoming election. About 5 minutes before, I just got a call from Dom Spada, who's running in Huntington. He's running against Doc Spencer. And he got a mailer mailed out from the Long Island law enforcement, saying he took a raise, he did this. Here's a guy who essentially makes, I think it was $369 a month as the police commissioner, the village trustee, and the deputy mayor of Huntington Bay. So here's the guy, and also he's a volunteer fireman. So they send out this big thing about $369 a month he made. Now, they send a thing out about Anthony Piccarello. He's tough on, there's no tough on crime. He's gonna, crime's gonna get out of control if we elect him. I'm gonna stress this again. I was in the county legislature when I first got in. Burke was still there, and this rampage was out of control. The gangs were out of control. We had no one in the DEA with an opiate epidemic. These legislators, the Doc Spencers, the Bill Lindsays, all of them stood there and did nothing. And I will tell them to their face, because I told them to the face back in 2012, 2013, actually 13, 14, and 15, that this was going on. And they did nothing. And I want that to stop. Hector Gavilia, the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. He was, red light camera guy from the beginning. A great guy. he knew about this, what was going on. I don't know if they're sending negative things out on him because, quite honestly, he's in a Democratic area. But this is a guy we need. This is a guy who's a businessman who knows what's going on. And we have Rudy Suderman out east. We need these guys to get elected. At the train station this morning, a friend of mine called me up. There were 65 cops out there working for C&E and the legislators they're supporting. 65, supposedly. Now, that's their job. They're doing their job. They're trying to get the people who gave them a 28% pay increase, right, elected again. So those people are receiving large sums of money, all the legislators in this Long Island law enforcement. You're getting the material. This is my antidote. I'm trying to say, hey, listen, guys, get out there and vote. Because if they get another 28% pay increase, we're in trouble. And guess what? I don't care what you say. The legislators who are supported by this big money are going to be beholden to them. I got to tell you, I think I would feel beholden to them if they got me elected. So we need, first of all, I need to get campaign finance reform pushed through. And it's not going to get pushed through until I get Hector, I get Dom, I get Rudy, I get Anthony, and I get all these guys. I need them all elected. Rudy Sunderman, Dom Spada, Hector Gavila, Anthony Piccarello, all these guys. I need them. I need them elected. So in order to go against, I don't want to say going against, but it is sort of going against, the tons of money, I'm appealing to you. Straight out, I'm appealing to you. I need you to get out, vote Republican, call your friends, share this video, to call your neighbors, everything you could possibly do to get this going on, because it's really bad. I want to summarize a couple of the things that we had to do to pay that 28% pay increase, that we don't want to do it again. And keep in mind, your children and your grandchildren will be paying for this. $485 million in the past 3 years we borrowed from the pension fund. I'm sorry, it's 4 years. I want to say that again. $485 million, almost $500 million. $171 million from the Sewer Stabilization Fund. Money that was supposed to be used for sewer expansion, for Smithtown, for Sayville, for Oakdale, for Huntington. Gone. Paid in salaries. $108 million we're going to totally have to pay back for the H. Lee Dennison building, which is the Suffolk County Town Hall. It's the equivalent of selling your town hall and renting it back. And of course, as I showed you the other day, with the pictures, we had to sell our town hall, and the PBA got to buy their brand new building. How about that? I don't begrudge them. The problem here is they outwitted you, the taxpayer. They got a 28% raise. The legislators got tons of campaign money, and you got stuck with the bill. You got stuck with the bill. You're paying it. If it would have been a cost of living increase, it would have been only about $150 million raise. That we could have lasted. We could have, we'd have some breathing room. But instead, it was almost 3 times the cost of living. That's a problem. Look, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't begrudge people a cost of living increase. The AME, a gentleman sent me a very nice email today. I think Andrew Berry sent me a nice email today saying, look, and thanks for mentioning me. Because the AME workers got, as I said before, 9% in 8 years. And their average salary is about $46,000 a year. They're the backbone of the county. Those are the guys who keep the county running. You can't lump them in together. I wish they could have taken a little bit of the raise that the PBA got so we could sort of balance things out. But I'm telling you, this is serious. We got some serious problems going on. So if anybody has any questions, my daughter will read them off to me. I'll be happy to answer anything you could possibly ask. And again, I will say to you, I guess we have no questions. I will say to you, and she's having trouble reading them,
Sweetheart,
that we need your vote. We need you to get out there. And is there any questions, Tori?
it's a little
slow.
lag.
Okay,
so
there's a
it'll
lag
take
time. Okay. Listen, if there's anything I want you to do, this is what I want you to do. I'd like you to get out there, call your neighbors, call your friends, get out there and vote. And I have one more thing to say to you. Oh, one more thing. I put in this bill for a tax cap. What this bill said, very simply, was just like there's a tax cap, there should be a fee cap. Because if you're going to limit how much you can raise your taxes, why not limit your fees? So why not put a 2% fee cap on? I put the bill in, it was killed. Straight out killed. Because they couldn't feed the animal, this huge contract that we can't afford to, without this. So that's why they will never pass this fee cap unless I get these guys, the Hector Gaviles, elected. All right, listen, I have one more thing to say to you. And this is it. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please share this. Get out there and vote tomorrow and vote Republican all the way. You know, Larry Zachary's, Ray Perini, and all the Republican candidates. Please get out there. We need a balance of power in this county. Thanks again, and good night.